Okay, so I'm just going to go through some basic coloring here in Zbrush. So I got this pre-made character, and over here to the right in my subtools, I have various parts and pieces that this creature is made up of. So got an eye, some teeth, the body itself. So I'm going to start coloring just the body, and I'm going to show you the process. Now, the first thing to remember is this is kind of dependent on the resolution. So if I look here at this body, I'm just hovering over the subtool itself. I can see that it has almost 1,000,000 polygons. And if I hit Shift F, I can also see how small those polygons are. So the faces on this creature are very tiny. 1,000,000 is pretty good, so that should be fine. The lower the resolution, you'll see that you'll start to get almost an anti-aliasing effect. The brush won't appear smooth, but at this resolution, my colors should appear smooth. So first off, here to the left, I have my color picker, so I can pick colors here. I can also go up in the color. I have a bigger picker, and you have more options if you want to play with more colors. So that's up to you. Now, in this process, as I color, I'm going to just start with using a standard brush. So I'm going to go into my brushes, and I have a lot more brushes here than most people, but for purposes of this, I'm just going to pick standard. And then when I start coloring, I got to do two things up here on the top menu. I want to turn off Z-Add, and I want to turn on RGB. So if I keep Z-Add on with RGB, it's going to sculpt and color at the same time. I just want RGB. So the first thing that happens when I change my color, you'll notice that the whole model changes. So if I pick a green, now the creature's green. And I don't want that. I just want to start with, let's say, a base color, this base color, this gray, white, and paint on top of that. So to get the color not to change on the whole model, go into color and then select fill object. And basically what that does is it's going to fill your model with the base color. And then at that point, if I change the color, see I'm picking new colors, the model itself, the creature is not changing color. What you do see is that the other subtools are changing. And what you have to do is go to each subtool and do a fill for each one if you want to get a base color down and have it not change. So I'm going to click on that central eyeball, pick a white color, then go back up in the color, and again hit fill object. Now when I change my colors, you can see everything but the creature and the eyeball change because I filled color on the creature and the eyeball. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start painting in the body of this creature. So I'm going to select the creature's body, and I'll start with like an orangish, reddish orange type color. And now as I paint, you can see I'm applying that to the creature itself. So it's really that simple. You just have to remember to fill color, use that fill color command. And now when I pick new colors, so I'm going to start with this orange. I'm going to pick maybe a yellowish type color. Just go right on top of that. Now the brush scale, size, applies here. So using the square brackets, making it bigger and smaller. So letting me add color in a wider area. The other thing that applies as well is intensity. So if I lower that intensity, I'm going to pick like a darker red here. sorry, RGB intensity. So if I change RGB intensity, that's similar to using opacity in Photoshop. It's going to create a level of translucency and let me blend, colors on top of each other. So here I have a reddish color. I'm going to change to this light green. So now my RGB intensity is low, so it's just letting me blend the two colors together. And then you can also use Shift, the Shift keyboard shortcut, which is smooth, and that will blur and blend the colors together as well. So I just like to explore all sorts of different weird combinations. Here I'm adding a blue. You can use an eyedropper type tool by just clicking on the color swatch here, dragging over, and you get this little pick label under the cursor, and then I can pick a color. I picked an orange. So that can be useful. And then I can also play with my alphas. So if I want to create some sort of pattern on this creature, I can select an alpha. Here I'm going to select alpha 22, which is like these veins. Increase my RGB intensity, make it a darker red, and you'll see here on the face starting to add some vein-like patterns. I'm going to blur it out a little bit. So you can play with different alphas. Sometimes I will pick a alpha that has a fall off on it, which is similar to using a soft edge type brush. And that can come in handy. And then you can also play with the different types of stroke modifiers here. So clicking on stroke, if I want to just drag a whole area of color, I can use drag. Rectangle to drag out bigger areas of color. The one I like to use a lot is color spray, so that will randomize color. Oops, and I picked the black there. And it kind of randomizes the how the colors laid down as well. So I like to use that sometimes. Right now I also have lazy mouth turned on. So if you notice, as I paint, I get this little red line trailing my brush. That's called lazy mouse. So for painting purposes, sometimes I like to just keep it off. L is the toggle key, and that's part of this standard brush here. Because I like to just be a little bit more random sometimes with the brush strokes. And that's basically the procedure for painting. And generally what I will do is just paint each subtool one by one, and I will apply color fill first and then go ahead and paint what I need to paint. So I'm going to go ahead and I have a couple, you can see the eyes here, so I'm going to go with these lower eyes and fill object on that, and just make sure the teeth, fill object as well, and that should be good. So that's basically the painting process.